an industry that keeps other people up at night, waiting to get a home built for their family. But the industry isn't made for giving buyers peace of mind. Opaque terms, high complexity, cost overruns, negative environmental impact. Why does the process of building the home of your dreams often turn into a nightmare? There has to be a better way, a healthier, more sustainable way. You see, I don't want anyone to lose sleep over a future that's grim and uncertain. I want to build a bright future. Build a house that cares for tomorrow. I want all our children to grow up knowing we built this home together, the right way, to last for generation after generation. I want to lose sleep over the possibilities.
Tell you, if everyone doesn't have a little bit of that feeling in their body right now, you might have to press play again and start over. I got the hair standing up on my arms. A handsome guy on the screen was our good friend, Chris Hill. The names and people have not been changed to protect the awesome. They certainly haven't. So for Offsite Dirt, my name is Mark Wille. We're doing some high performance build here today. And Shaun, that was a great way to start off. What are you thinking, brother?
Well, again, great stuff. I'm Shaun St-Amour. Happy to be here with my good friend Mark, talking about high performance build. And what is happening with B Collective is amazing. And boy, they're bringing the B.O.S. And if you don't know what B.O.S is, it is building offsite sustainable systems to the marketplace. And the best part is this whole technology is open source. So they are giving away all that information so that you guys out there in the world can adapt and take on the high performance way of building offsite construction. So we're bringing both of this here together today. And we love a good mock-up. And so we thought we'd showcase how the B.O.S system is coming to the marketplace with what occurred in my dad's backyard. Some people call it the PH Art Shack. PH stands for Passive House. But when you get rid of the acronyms and want to make it faster, it's the Fart Shack. And that's happening in my dad's backyard, where he can have a creative space, bit of a man cave, to be able to do some art. And you might as well have it in a space that is going to be comfortable, healthy, energy efficient. And if you design it small enough, you don't have to worry about a building permit, and you can just call it a mock-up. And that's what we're going to showcase today on Offsite Dirt with high performance build.
I love it. So Shaun, the fact that you go back a ways, certainly with Steve St-Amour, and you go back a ways with Chris Hill, hold tight, folks, because as we go through the photos, you get a little glimpse of some people maybe you've seen before, some products maybe you've seen before. At the very end, all their handsome mugs come together and showcase what they finished. But, you know, it all starts with a piece of paper, right? So these things are first designed digital twin style, right, on our screen. Then there's nice printouts, so they've been made on the tables accordingly. Shaun, let's dive in.
All right, folks. Well, what happened here is the mock-up. And so Chris Hill and the team over at B Collective wanted to make sure that before they actually started their first project, the one that, again, a client has come to them and said, hey, let's build this offsite high performance product. They want to make sure that they could dial in not only their prefabrication of the panels, but also the on-site connection, because that's where a lot of that real delicate part comes to play is, hey, we can build it anywhere, can build either on-site or off-site. But if we're going to put all things together, what are things that could come up on any type of site, and how do we get through it? And so all of a sudden, with a 108 square foot little facility, or sorry, little project, they were able to put in a whole bunch of different panels that then could go from smaller or bigger, but they had the complexity of bringing it together. So what you see here is some materials, some drawings, some sketches, but what you don't see is the amount of passion and thought and planning that went into putting this whole thing together. So we start off with the drawings, then we get into manufacturing. We don't have the on-site prefab that was occurred at tag panels, but what we do have is the site conditions. So here you are in Maple Ridge in Steve St-Amour, who happens to be my dad, in his backyard. And we start off with a piece of dirt. And then all of a sudden you bring out the shovel and you start creating the formwork. So here is the, in a sense, the 4 landing pads of where the mock-up is going to land. And all of a sudden you pour some concrete. We created a base just to make sure that it was completely level, because what we wanted to occur was, looking at all the external factors. So really we want to have a level plane so that we can put down the first floor of any project. In this case, it's just going to be the base of the fart shack. Then we're going to put in a whole bunch of different walls, and then we put on the roof panel. And let's go through this.
Yeah, so whether it's a regular site-built, stick-built construction project, whether it's an offsite project, whether it's a high performance, or in this case, whether it rolls all that together, site evaluation, site prep always happens. The certainty could be there, or the certainty could be lacking. And so a square setup, right, is always great. I love the indicators here of how you have it set up, and dive deeper, Shaun. Let's keep it going.
Great. So you can see that lovely guy in the background. That's Steve St-Amour. He's pretty happy how things are coming along. He's always, the fun is always happening with this gentleman. So here it is. The panels show up from Squamish. So this is Squamish to Maple Ridge on a truck. And then we get the crane showing up, and then we start lifting panels. So we're a little bit of inspection happening here. And then we go. Here is the base. So the base gets lifted on. Steve's there on looking, making sure he's like the quality control. He's the eagle eye, making sure it all comes together perfectly. So we've got the base in place, and you can see here on the base how there's 2x4s. So that's going to already be pre-done on the floor system. So when the panels come on, they already kind of click into place. They already have that base figured out so that they can be nailed onto. So you can see how, let me take a step back, because something very different is there's already a window installed.
Yeah. The lift is there. So this is what they call flying in the wall sections, right? So the panel's already landed, flying in that wall section, and the truck gets sad, right? Because the truck has to all of a sudden say goodbye. The factory's already said goodbye. Some of the factories on site, so they're actually ecstatic. They're not sad. But that is really wicked how, so everyone does their system different, but this case, since the platform comes from the same source, they have an integrated system for the tie-in to that wall. It helps for the alignment, it helps for the tie-in. And since this wall is enclosed on both sides, that pre-inspection is not needed, because you could see the assembly portion. Unique style, still can't believe they're giving it away. They truly are B.O.S. But I love this photograph of that platform who's been missing. Her friend, the wall, right now gets the wall joined back together. What's next?
So again, it's a mock-up. They want to test out flying panels with windows. It's not typically done. So here's the frame installed. The sash was sent separately, so it was easy to click it in afterwards. But the factory, again, that window is perfectly level in its place, the right spot needed to be. And here we go, continuing on.
Also, because these panels are coming over, you see the orientation on the truck. These panels are flat. So we have a little phrase that I've used for a very long time. It's called "Don't trash that sash," right?
Yeah.
And when you say "Don't trash that sash," that they've allowed for the optimum way of delivering those panels in the stack fashion, and then it's set into place here. Look at the pointing going around, like It it's so quick. It's so easy. Keep it going. This is
Oh, yeah.
great.
So there's Chris calling for the next panel. So you can see how that one that was off the truck is now installed, working on different corner connections. There's another one coming in place. You can see the floppy bits there with the air barrier already installed, keeping the insulation already intact. You can see there the clips
Yeah,
that
freeze on that here. I know you're excited for the next photo. I am too. But what Shaun is saying by the floppy bit, so if you look above Chris's feet, Chris is in the foreground, and at the bottom of that panel, the Mento uh is sitting down beyond the bottom plate. That is what Shaun is classifying as the floppy bit, because that's going to be tying in as control, right? Of onto the platform. Simple tape job from there. But it's no big deal for transport. That's just flopping in the wind, right? It's a floppy bit. But then once it's connected, boom, set, continuity.
So again, insulation we placed against the base there. The floppy bit comes over, and all the air barrier and thermal brakes all are all taken care of there. So you can see that connection. You can see the little lip of the plywood, how that's going to go on the interior side of the wall, and then that's going to hang over. And then, but again, a large portion of the weight of that wall is going to be bearing on that 2x4. And you saw with the metal clip there, that's how it gets taken care of structurally. So there's a lot going on here in this one picture of how it lands, how it gets tied in quickly, how the engineering is taking care of the structural loads, and again, the floppy bit that then continues along.
Yeah, that plywood on the inside will then get taped to the plywood on the floor, and that's your interior air control layer.
Yeah.
Because there it is, great shot. The plywood, once it's taped, that's with the Vanna tape, I believe, the Tuscan Vanna in this case. Now that is allowing for the air control layer of the interior to be connected, right? Connected is another way of saying continuous if it's on all surfaces.
Yeah, another
Beautiful.
word. Sorry, Mark. Another word that we use is again is we stitch the panels together, and so by
Sure.
stitching it with tape or the membranes to make sure that they all get properly wrapped, that occurs. Chris loves this photo because you can see here there's 4 individuals. Those are 4 project managers, not red seal carpenters. So we always laugh about how this whole thing came together with some project managers. But again, everyone was on board to learn to have different eyeballs looking at. You can see my dad there in the corner peeking in, trying to be some quality control. So again, really informative process of the mock-up of getting everybody on board. You've got, the fabricators there too, to just see how the quality of the mock-ups, or sorry, of the panels, get applied to the mock-up and how it all comes together. So,
Yeah, not a lot of tool belts are needed here, right? So the levels in action, the sledges in action to persuade them in the right direction, ladders in action, and then a couple fasteners, couple screw guns, and support bracing. Keep it square level, folks.
that. So there you got, most of the panels are in place there. You can see the furring strips on the outside. So we have a rain screen. So that's the ventilation and drainage cavity we do on our outside of walls here in BC. But we should be doing them everywhere, folks. Rain screens are a good thing. So there's the stitching of making sure that they're fastened together. So from one panel to the other, you can see how coming from the factory, there's already some tape at the seams to make sure that that continuity of the air barrier is kind of already in place.
And the panel that we see before us, right? Plywood to Mento on the wall. Give everyone an idea of how thick that panel is and why it is that thick, and then what happens on the outside.
Yeah, so we're climate zone 4, so everyone gets an understanding of what we're trying to deal with when it comes to controlling our elements. So most time we want our vapor retarder on the warm side of the wall. So the plywood is acting as the vapor retarder. Mento is vapor open, so we've got a lot of drying to the outside. But what's nice about this 10-inch wall is that it's being able to dry in both directions throughout the seasons. It's airtight with having an interior and an exterior air barrier. And that plywood is also taking care of a lot of the shear forces and the structural load. So pretty quickly you can see that, there's lots of different membranes, elements, tapes that are all working together to ensure that this is going to be a high performance panel and a high performance build. So if you're good, I'm going to hit the next button because that's it. Roof's on. So the other panels you see up there, gables or different angles, because they wanted to make sure that any of the connections with different type of sizes and cuts can all be figured out. And pretty quickly, there's a bit of a, kind of a partial floor that's where Steve's going to, store all of his paintings and maybe his accessories. Might turn into a loft for his grandkids who want to have a sleepover. So this fart shack becomes very lots of different possibilities of how this can be used. For the most part, he'll be using it to paint and be creative, do some beading. But that's all the elements that how it comes together. This is one of my favorite shots. This is the model that digital twin, as we talk about, and how the digital twin matches to the on-site.
It is one of my favorite photos. I remember you sending that my way, and of course we were live with our wonderful phones, right, going back and forth between us. And like when this one came over, I was like, oh my gosh, this is just great. The joy of panelized, right? Those panels are not the largest thing in town, but you're lifting them from the streetway, right, over the hardscapes of the property, over the fence of the property, around a tree, and just dodging what's on site and placing it right behind the nice balcony that's on there. It's so sweet. Not a lot of site damage going on there. Foot traffic, right? Beautiful.
Yeah, and this particular project, again, I mean, it took probably about 4.5 hours to assemble. Took 2 cranes. Again, lots of opportunity for learning. It could have been 4 panels and a roof. And the reason that it took a little longer was we wanted to try out different corner connections. We want to look at different sizes of panels and how they could be optimized, how they could tie in differently between the floor system. So mock-ups are great. Lots of learning to be had, and they definitely were winning on this particular day.
Waiting for the artist to make a rendering of the PHR check itself. So let's give some shout outs here. Obviously, we recognize a few handsome mugs there. And the most beautiful part about all this is it's a passive house, offsite produced, system by B.O.S.S, delivered, beautiful, Vancouver. Who's in the photo and why are they so special, Shaun?
Yeah, again, so you've got the dad who had the passion of wanting to have this bigger project. You have Chris and Jeff from B Collective that again want to be able to do the mock-up, and you got representatives from Tag Panel. So prefabber, contractor, client, and then myself, who just loves being involved in this. So but yeah, Mark, that is pretty much about it for what we can do with this mock-up and showcasing what's happening with the B Collective B.O.S.S system. And I'm Shaun St-Amour. This is Mark Willie, and this is Offsite Dirt High Performance Build.